Hi, welcome to Crochet Witchcraft, where we take yarn and with a wave of a wand or a crochet hook, we make something magical. My name is Sarah. It is like 6:30 or 7 in the morning. I have not gone to bed yet. Yay, insomnia. Anybody else? Quarantine insomnia? It's the worst. My sleep schedule is all over the place. I'm basically a zombie. So I was laying awake in bed, not being able to sleep, and I went, might as well just film a video. House is relatively quiet. It is thunderstorming outside, so I will try to edit out any of the massive thunder booms. No promises. Shh. Thank you. Okay. Crochet Witchcraft is a channel dedicated to sharing my love of crochet, teaching friends and family the basics, and to learn from you as well. Get hooked by clicking the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a video. Today, I thought that we would have an informal, this will be a bonus video, not necessarily my Tuesday or Friday videos, of kind of what I have recently finished and some of the things that I am in the process of making. There are a few things that I am in progress of making that I can't show you because they're secret, because they're gifts for people and I don't want that to spoil that surprise. I just made myself tea. So this is wild berry zinger tea from Celestial Seasonings because I am a weakling and I can't have actual tea. I just drink herbal tea, but I really like this one. It makes the water all pink and it's delicious. And this is in a beautiful mug that my mother gave me, thanks Mom, from one of her cause boxes. Yeah, so I just have a pile of stuff that I had set aside of stuff I finished recently or things that are ongoing, and we're gonna go through them one by one. If you see a moving thing, that is, do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want to come up here? This is Benny, or Benedict. That's your full name, isn't it? This is Benedict. He is my 4-year-old Bichon Poodle mix. He's my puppy. He's a Velcro dog, so he's probably gonna sit with me. He's very confused as to why I am downstairs and he is not sleeping. So he might be in and out. Yeah, he's already gone. So anyway, the first thing I wanted to talk about is this sweater that I am wearing. The pattern is the Karamell Sweater by Hooked by Anna, or Anna, I'm not entirely sure. I will put the original pattern picture here. I will also link it down in the description. I used Big Twist Heather yarn from Joann's in beige. It was super easy to make. This is a top-down sweater, so you start with the neckline and then you work your way all the way down. You kind of form the torso first, and then you add the sleeves next, and then you add all these cuffing details. One of the things I really like about this pattern is that the cuff details actually use a size smaller hook. So same yarn, but just moving down a hook size ends up kind of getting this cinched look. Now, I altered this pattern slightly. I made it a little bit longer in the torso, and I also made all of these different cuffing portions smaller than they were in the original pattern, but I liked that, you know, it was pretty easy to customize at that point. So anyway, this is my new favorite sweater. I've gotten so many compliments on it of people saying that they can't believe I made it because it basically looks like I bought it. There's no tag in the back. I have a little safety pin right now that tells me which way is the front, which way is the back. I love this sweater. It's actually stretched out a little bit, but I love the way this fits. It is so comfortable. My mom, who hasn't crocheted a whole lot, has her yarn ready to make one. I have plans to make another one of them just in a different color, because if you like something, why not have it in multiple colors? So this is the Karamell Sweater by Hooked by Anna, a recently completed project. Another recently completed project, this is one that, another free pattern. I will put up a larger picture of what this looks like now. But this is the Crochet Crowd / Yarnspirations Planet Earth Crochet Along, I believe is the full name. If it's not, I will put a thing here. This was a study of texture led by Mikey from Crochet Crowd. Basically, each of these sections that's represented by these ridged rows represented a different layer or section of the earth. I loved making this project. I used Caron Big Cakes in, I believe, Toffee Brickle, which was the colorway. And so what I liked about this was you can just kind of just go. The color changes all happen automatically. You can make it so that you can kind of, you know, if you're really close to finishing a row on a certain color, you can pull that color from another ball. I think it's called cake doctoring. I might be wrong there. But anyway, I kind of let, for the most part, the colors dictate as they did. There were patterns available for each of the sections, but Mikey from Crochet Crowd also had videos up to kind of walk you through if anything on the pattern was a little bit confusing. There were a few stitches on here that were new to me, as far as, you know, kind of these cabling type things. I also like the fact that this is a hexagonal blanket, so it has 6 sides. I really love this. I am a huge fan of texture. I think if I were to do this again, I would do it with a different kind of yarn. I wasn't a huge fan of the Caron Big Cakes just because I noticed that as I was going through, there was some color bleeding between the different colors, and that actually showed in the final work. So I think if I show you here, and if I can't get it on video, I will take a picture of it. You can see in the yellow sections, you can see dots of blue, green, red, where the dyes have almost not fully dried before they were wound into the cakes. And I think for some projects that would look super cool. For this one, it ended up being fine, whatever. I was using this as more of a learning project of learning a bunch of different stitches and how they worked together. I hadn't made a blanket in this shape before, but I think if I were to do a project like this again, I would have chosen a different yarn to get kind of a cleaner look. I know I talked about this in my last video, but I am just so in love with this rainbow shawl that I made. It is about 70 inches by 20 inches deep, and essentially I was thinking of it as either kind of a big chunky scarf if you wanted something that was just kind of super over the top and crazy, or I sometimes get really cold around my shoulders, but I need my arms free if I'm gonna be crocheting or knitting. I don't know why I said knitting, I don't knit. This is the Big Twist Rainbow Classics yarn from Joann's in the color Fun Brights. The pattern for this is my own pattern, but I will be releasing it here on YouTube at some point in the near future. This is the much anticipated 2019 temperature blanket. I haven't blocked this yet, so that is why the border is still a little squiggly, but I was doing this and I was so excited to show you guys that just forgive me. It is honestly way too large for me to fully film. I haven't measured it. I'm pretty sure it is between 9 and 10 feet long. It is massively long. I really like looking back at this because if you can see the gray rows, this is when we had like super crazy below zero weather in Illinois and schools were canceled for like a whole week. And my school district got an extra day off because once all the rest of the school started opening, our buses wouldn't start because it had been so cold, so we got an extra snow day. I got a lot of crocheting done those few days. I was very glad I had picked up that new hobby. At the beginning, my stitches were bad. Not bad, they're fine. But as far as my edges, they were atrocious, which is part of the reason why I ended up adding this border. This border was I kind of adapted this from the big leaf border. I'm totally blanking right now on the name of the website. I will also link that below. But I decided to add this really chunky border featuring all of the colors from my temperature blanket around the entire blanket, just to kind of help even out those edges a little bit more and make it a little bit less noticeable that I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning. As far as the temperature blanket itself, I did the entire thing in the mesh stitch or granite stitch, depending on who you talk to. That's the single crochet chain 1 repeat all the way across. And I really like this stitch for temperature blankets. I think that it has a nice pattern to it so that if you have sections where you have just a single color row for example, like here. You know, it just kind of gives you those little pops of color. And it also, believe it or not, makes your blanket shorter than if you had gone for a full single crochet and of course any taller stitch. You know, so this is about as short of a blanket as I think I was going to end up getting using the basic crochet that I was aware of at the time. Now, this year in particular was incredibly special to me because it is the year that I got married to my husband, and so one of the reasons I wanted to document 2019 in this way was because it was the year that I was getting married, it was the year that my brother was getting married, and it was just a really, really important year for our family. Along the way, obviously, there were some sad things that this blanket also now kind of holds in memory, and those are really important to me as well. So anyway, I will do another video that is fully dedicated, actually probably a couple videos. I'll do a whole couple videos dedicated to temperature blankets, how to set one up, how to actually start, get your data, finish it off, things like that, where I will go over this in more detail. So anyway, I have to wash and block this, and then this project will be done. So as far as other projects that I'm gonna share with you today, there are several projects that I just kind of am constantly making as I have time and as I feel like it and as I have yarn to do so. So I'm going to share some of those with you today. These are things that I have finished in the last few weeks, and so I figured they would be appropriate to include in this video. So the first thing would be dishcloths. So my husband and I use like washcloths as scrubbers to wash dishes, and I really like using ones that are about this size, about 6 to 7 inches square, just because I feel like the larger they are, the more likely they are to be used for a longer period of time, and therefore they end up kind of being gross and becoming a breeding ground for bacteria. If they are small, they are good for a, you know, dish or two, you know, whatever is needed, it's used, and then it goes in the washing machine. These obviously I need to weave in the ends. I hate weaving in ends, so I tend to do several, and then I have a pile, and then I just suck it up and I do all of the ends at once. But I have a few different patterns of dishcloths that I kind of go back and forth on. I use size 4 worsted weight cotton and an appropriate sized hook. Usually that's a 5.5 millimeter hook. And I use pretty basic stitches for these. I am going to be posting 3 different dishcloth tutorials for beginners in a couple weeks. So on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my beginners series, Crochet Made Clear. Once we kind of learn the basic stitches, then the first pattern that is coming out is dishcloths, because I think the easiest thing to start off when you are learning how to crochet is a dishcloth. It is a small rectangle. You are going back and forth in rows. It is the easiest way to practice your basic stitches, and then you end up with something that is actually really useful. These are market bags. So where's the first one I made? Here it is. I saw a pattern on Lovecrafts, which is or used to be Love Crochet. I haven't quite figured out how all of that has merged together. But basically Lovecrafts or Love Crochet has a lot of free patterns. One of the patterns on Love Crochet that was recommended to me was this market bag. Now I want to be more environmentally friendly. I don't want to use plastic bags, however, I am bad at remembering. So one of my goals in making these is making them for myself and my husband, for us to try to remember to take with us to the grocery store and use these instead of plastic bags, just because we need to be done with plastic bags. One of the things that I really like about this market bag pattern is that it stretches so much without feeling like things are going to start coming out or like it's gonna break. So the benefit of this kind of mesh stitch of all of these chains and single crochets is that the fabric is really able to stretch, and it's a 3-dimensional stretch. The bottom is really pretty. It has this kind of flower pattern with some rings around it, and then of course handles. Now this was the original pattern that I followed. I used Mandala roving yarn from Lion Brand. I love this yarn. It is amazing yarn. But after using it several times, you can see it's definitely been used. It's stretched out. I decided I didn't like the length of the handles and just felt like they were a little bit too flimsy. And I also didn't like how the handles were attached in the corner. So basically the way that they were attached was you single crochet up to a point and then you just chain a certain number. When you watch my video tomorrow, you will understand that I really don't like working stitches into chains. I avoid it whenever possible. So when I redid the design for myself, it is almost exactly the same. Literally, the bottom is the same. All of the meshing is the same. The only reason they look like they are two completely different sizes is really because one has been used and one hasn't. Biggest thing that I changed is the length of the handles. I like shorter handles. I found it gave me a little bit more control, especially because these handles, I mean, they will stretch a little bit. These definitely stretched quite a bit, and I really just wanted, you know, to be a little bit closer to whatever I was carrying. So I did that, and I also changed that first row. Instead of being just a chain, I changed it to a foundation single crochet. And if you guys are interested in how I did that, I will happily make a video on how to change chain handling patterns to foundation single crochet or whatever foundation you are using. So foundation stitches are going to be introduced in my video tomorrow. It's the first Crochet Made Clear video on slip knots, chains, counting stitches, and foundation stitches. So check that out if you're interested. Foundation stitches are one of my favorite things since I have learned them. But anyway, I have a lot of these. This was the original pattern. I made one of them. I have since made lots of the larger size, again, all with that slightly shorter handle, but I also created a mini version. So this looks really, really small, but again, it stretches so much. It has the same flower pattern on the bottom. It just isn't as large. And overall, the meshing is pretty similar, and the handles are also just kind of nice and short, ready to go. And yeah, I have these in several colors and patterns. Another thing that I am kind of making ongoing, partially because they're listed on my Etsy store and partially because I love them and my friends love them, are scrunchies, particularly velvet scrunchies. So I have velvet yarn in 13 different colors right now. So I sell all 13 colors individually and in multi-packs. My sister-in-law recently, you know, is willing to guinea pig my kind of newer way of tying them off. So I want to see if these are even more secure than my last set of scrunchie designs. So these are super basic. Everyone is making these. I can't claim that I have a design or anything because it's a scrunchie. But anyway, I have 13 colors. I think I have all of them in here. Okay, so these are all 13 colors. I have smoke, blush, teal, white, rose, indigo, aqua, purple, beige, gold, silver, mauve, and black. I love these. They're so much fun to make. They're so easy to make. I have also been experimenting recently. I haven't seen anyone do this. I don't think it's original, but I haven't seen anyone do it. I am doing two-tone scrunchies. So I decided that with the kind of spring and summer coming up, I kind of wanted the colors and the scrunchies to be kind of a little bit oversized. So I started playing around with, well, what would happen if I just held two similar colors together. So I have some that are a little bit more muted. So like this is the silver and the smoke together. So just kind of like a mottled gray. This one I am calling my Ravenclaw scrunchie because it is the indigo and silver, but you know, from most angles, it just looks like it is blue and silver. And yes, I know that the book colors are blue and bronze. I don't have a bronze color. The blue and gold looks weird together. This is the purple and blush together. I really like this one. This is the, this is the rose and teal and gold and white. And I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to offer these on my Etsy store. If anyone is interested, comment down below. I will throw them on my Etsy store for you. Mostly just because I have 13 colors. That's a lot of different combinations, and I'm not entirely sure how I would put that on the store. Another project that I am in the middle of that I actually put aside for a few months that I'm going to be picking back up is a temperature blanket for one of my nieces. So right now I have 4 nieces, and when I first started crocheting, I got really excited about making my temperature blanket, but I got very frustrated very quickly when I ran out of data. I ended up looking at my oldest niece's birthday and figured out, well, what if I do a temperature blanket for her first year of life? So instead of looking at a temperature blanket as it having to be January to December of a calendar year, looking at it as a year of somebody's life. So I did it from her birth date to her first birthday. So I collected all the data and then went, okay, well, she's a child, so she's not going to need a 9-foot blanket. So I did what I call an abbreviated temperature blanket. I have these on my Etsy shop as well for commission if you are interested in ordering one that can be custom made for someone in your life, especially a smaller someone. And basically I decided that instead of doing every single day, I would still collect all of the data for the year, but instead of, for example, maybe having like 8 days in a row of the same color, I might only do 3. So it ended up being about every 3 days, except not as every 3 days. Essentially, all of the different color changes were represented in that temperature blanket, but just some of the larger sections might have been abbreviated a little bit. Now, this blanket was still a large blanket for a child, but I made it in really, really bright rainbow colors. I'm gonna pop a couple pictures up here, and it was just such a happy, fun blanket. And after I made the first one, I went, okay, I have more nieces. Everyone's gonna get a temperature blanket for their first year of life, and I wanna base the color spectrum based off of you know, kind of what their emerging personalities are gonna be like. They're all young, so obviously their personalities are gonna change. For example, I wanted, you know, my temperature blanket to be kind of these like nice, earthy, warm, royal colors. These are kind of my favorite things. My oldest niece, Rainbow Princess, you know, she got the hot pinks and the bright reds and the bright purples and all of that. And when it came to my second niece also loves rainbow, also loves princesses. When we FaceTimed the other day, she was wearing a purple tutu, but she's a little bit more subdued than the bright rainbow princess that is my oldest niece. This is the blanket that I am making for her. So I am probably 75% done with it, but my favorite sections are these sections here with that kind of light teal and that light aqua and that light purple. I think that she is going to just love this. So anyway, I am about 75% done with this one. I'm hoping to finish this up in the next few weeks, and then I can start collecting data on the third niece. I'm really excited. So I think that's about it. Thank you for hanging out with me while I had insomnia this morning. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Keep crafting, make some magic, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. That they were talking about. So, excuse me. Okay then. Someone upstairs is angry.